Neka, known to everyone as Nen, was a type of woman people turned to when they needed help, whether it was connecting someone to a wholesaler or finding a reliable supplier. Nen always had the answer. She wasn't born into wealth. In fact, her life began in a modest home in Onitsha, where she lived with her parents until tragedy struck. At the age of 16, she lost both her mother and father in a car accident, leaving her to fend for herself. Life was not easy, and Nen would often mutter to herself, especially on nights when she cried herself to sleep, the thin walls of her room doing little to keep the sound in. With no siblings or extended family to rely on, she knew she had to grow up quickly. At first, she started small. She would visit the market, talk to traders, and help them find customers for their goods. Auntie, I brought a customer for you, she would say with a bright smile, earning a small commission from each sale. Bit by bit, Nain saved her earnings, using them to pay her school fees and feed herself. She would sit by the window of her room at night, counting her savings and dreaming of a brighter future. By the time Nene graduated from secondary school, she had learned one important thing about life. Relationships were key. People trusted her because she was honest, and she never promised what she couldn't deliver. Won't you go to the university? One of the market women, Mama Nkechi, asked her one day as they shared a bowl of jollof rice during a break. Nen smiled faintly. She wanted to go to the university more than anything, but she didn't have the money. All the little she made went to feeding herself, paying her rent for the small room she stayed in, and keeping herself afloat. God will help me, Mama, she replied, masking her fears. The truth was, Nen knew nobody was coming to help her. She would have to fight for everything herself. After graduating from secondary school, she expanded her little business. Now, she wasn't just connecting traders with customers. She began helping people find services too. Tailors, carpenters, transporters, whatever people needed, Nain would make it happen. And for every transaction, she made a cut. Soon, she became so efficient that even shop owners at Onitsha Market knew her name. Nen the Connector, they would call her, and she would laugh, knowing that her hustle was paying off. She often treated herself to roasted corn and pear from the roadside vendors, a rare indulgence she allowed herself as a reward for her hard work. One day, while waiting to collect her commission from a trader, Nen overheard two men talking about a new logistics company opening in Lagos. I hear they pay well, one of them said. Nene's ears perked up. She had always dreamed of leaving Onitsha for Lagos. The big city seemed like the kind of place where someone like her could thrive. That night, as she lay on her small mattress, the faint hum of the neighbor's radio in the background, she made up her mind. She would move to Lagos. She didn't have a plan, but she had her savings and her determination. Lagos was everything Nene imagined and more. Loud, fast, and full of opportunities. She rented a small one-room apartment in Mushin and quickly started building a network. At first, it was hard. She didn't know anyone, and Lagos people weren't as trusting as the traders back in Onitsha. But Nen didn't give up. She would wake up at 5:00 a.m. every day dressed neatly and head to the busy markets on Lagos Island. There, she would introduce herself to traders and offer to help them find customers. Please, sir, I will help you sell, she would say. You don't have to pay me unless I bring a customer. Most of the traders were skeptical, but Nene's persistence paid off. Within months, she had built a reputation as someone who delivered on her promises. One day, after helping a shoe seller secure a bulk order from a boutique owner in Ikeja, Nene had an idea. What if I start my own company? She thought. She realized that she could formalize her business, branding herself as a professional connector of products and services. She would create a network that both buyers and sellers would rely on. With the little money she had saved, Nene printed business cards that read, Nen Solutions, connecting you to what you need. She distributed the cards everywhere she went, from markets to offices, and her business began to grow. Even as her business flourished, Nene remained humble. She never flaunted her success and continued to live modestly. When she eventually hired her first set of staff, she told them she was managing the company for her uncle. As her business grew, Nene realized she needed a way to deliver the products she connected people to. Hiring external transporters was becoming too expensive and unreliable. Why not start your own logistics company? A friend once suggested. At first, Nene laughed. The idea of running a logistics company seemed too big for her. But the more she thought about it, the more it made sense. With the money she had saved, Nen bought her first delivery van. It wasn't new, but it was reliable. It got the job done. She named her logistics company Swift Moves. Within a year, Swift Moves became one of the most reliable logistics companies in Lagos, and Nen was making more than she ever imagined. As Nene sat in her office one evening, looking at the bustling streets of Lagos through the glass window, she couldn't help but feel grateful to God. She had come a long way from the orphan teenager in Onitsha, but deep down, she knew her journey was far from over. I will make it bigger than this, she said to herself, determination gleaming in her eyes. It was a bright Monday morning at the University of Lagos. Nene sat quietly in the back row of her economics lecture, jotting down notes. Although she was focused on her studies, she couldn't help but notice the young man who always seemed to sit a few seats away from her. His name was Emeka, a tall, dark, and kind-hearted young man who had a reputation for being both intelligent and humble. Emeka had a way of commanding attention without even trying. His calm demeanor and easy smile were enough to make him stand out. Nane, why do you always look at that boy like that? A friend, Aisha, teased her during lunch one afternoon. Which boy? Nene asked, pretending not to know. Everybody in the class is aware that you like him. Why don't you talk to him? Aisha laughed. Nen shook her head, feeling shy. Please leave me alone. I don't have time for that one. But deep down, Nene couldn't deny that she felt something whenever she saw Emeka. One afternoon, as Nene was leaving the library, she tripped over a stack of books someone had left on the floor. Before she could land on the ground, a strong hand caught her arm and steadied her. Careful, the voice said gently. Nene looked up and saw Emeka smiling at her. Oh, thank you, she stammered, her cheeks flushing. I think we're in the same economics department. You're Nene, right? Nen was surprised he even knew her name. Yes, you're Emeka, correct, he said with a playful nod. You always write so much in class. I've been meaning to ask if I can borrow your notes sometimes. Of course, Nin said, trying to hide her excitement. And just like that, their friendship began. Over the next few months, Nen and Emeka became inseparable. They studied together in the university's sprawling library, ate together at the bustling campus cafeteria, and spent hours sitting on the grass under the old mango tree, talking about their dreams and ambitions. Emeka admired Nene's determination and hard-working nature. He often told her, "You'll be one of the most successful people I know. I can see it in your eyes." Nen, in turn, loved how supportive Emeka was. He believed in her even when she doubted herself. Their relationship soon became the talk of the campus. "Those two are a perfect couple," people would say as they walked past them, hand in hand, laughing like they shared the world's best. Kept secret. Every evening after the lectures, Emeka would walk Nien to her off-campus apartment on the edge of the city's lively market district before returning to his hostel. It didn't matter how tired he was. He always made sure she got home safely, weaving through the crowded streets under the dim glow of streetlights. After graduating, life began to pull Nene and Emeka in different directions. Nene stayed in Lagos to focus on her business, while Emeka returned to his hometown in Enugu to care for his sick father and look for a job. At first, they tried to keep their relationship alive through long, heartfelt phone calls and carefully written letters scented with Nene's favorite perfume. But as months turned into years, the distance began to take its toll. "I don't know if this long distance thing will work," Emeka said one day during a phone call. The faint hum of crickets filled the silence between his words. Nen's heart sank. She knew he was right, but the thought of letting go was painful. "Maybe we just need more time," she said, trying to sound hopeful. Her voice wavered, betraying her feelings, but deep down, they both knew their paths were diverging. Eventually, the calls became less frequent, and life moved on. 5 years after graduation, Nene had successfully established a logistics company, Speed Moves. Her business was thriving, and her life seemed perfect on the surface. But there was still a part of her that missed Emeka. On quiet nights, she often found herself reminiscing about the laughter they shared under the mango tree. One morning, as Nen was reviewing job applications for a new position at her company, a familiar name caught her eye. Emeka Oak. She stared at the name for a long time, wondering if it could be the same Emeka she knew. Could it be him? She whispered to herself, her heart pounding. Her curiosity got the best of her, and she instructed her HR to schedule an interview for him the next day. The following morning, Emeka walked into the company's sleek reception area, clutching a worn leather briefcase. He was older, more mature, but still had the same smile Nen remembered. As he sat down for the interview, Nen entered the room, pretending to be just a manager. "Good morning, sir," she said formally, trying to hide her excitement. Emeka looked up and froze. "Nen?" Nen smiled. "Yes, it's me." For a moment, they just stared at each other, memories flooding back. The room seemed to shrink as they were transported to a different time. "I can't believe this," Emeka said, shaking his head. "You work here?" "I manage the company," Nen replied, choosing her words carefully. The interview didn't last long. Nene already knew she was going to hire him, but she still wanted to keep her true role in the company a secret. Working together brought Nene and Emeka closer again. They often stayed late in the office, talking and laughing like old times. Over time, their feelings for each other reignited. 2 years later, Emeka proposed to Nene in the most romantic way, kneeling under a canopy of fairy lights at a private dinner by the beach, and she said yes without hesitation. It was a beautiful and joyous celebration. All their colleagues, friends, and family were present at this beautiful celebration of genuine love. Emeka was a very humble man who never took for granted all Nende did for him. He was smart and treated the company like his own. He was never arrogant to her and was always appreciative of her. Nene would sometimes send gifts to his family, lying that they were from her husband. Their son, Nene and Emeka, settled into married life with ease. Their love was strong, and they both felt unbreakable. They supported each other in every way possible. Emeka took a deep interest in Nene's business, and Nene encouraged Emeka to pursue his own dreams. They bought a beautiful home in Ika, a serene place where they could escape the hustle and bustle of Lagos life. Even though they lived comfortably, Nene remained humble. Every morning, she woke up early to prepare breakfast. Even though they had house help, she loved taking care of her husband. The scent of fresh coffee and sizzling plantains often filled their kitchen. Their mornings were always filled with laughter, teasing, and soft moments that reminded them of why they fell in love in the first place. As time went on, Nene promoted Emeka to a managerial position in her company. Although he was initially hesitant, Nene reassured him, "Honey, you deserve this position, and I trust you more than anyone else." Emeka excelled in his new role. He treated the company like his own, always supporting Nene's decisions. To the employees, they looked like a power couple, but most of them still believed Emeka was just the general manager running the business on behalf of Nene's uncle. Despite their happiness, Nene and Emeka faced a new challenge. Emeka's mother, Mama Emeka, a woman who believed that a wife's primary duty was to bear children. She had been patient for the first 2 years of their marriage, but after 5 years passed without a child, her patience waned. One Sunday afternoon, while they were resting at home, they heard a knock on the door. It was Emeka's mother. She came unannounced. "Mama, welcome," Nene said, trying to hug her. But her mother-in-law flared up. "Don't hug me. I want a hug from my grandchildren," she said. "You've been married to my son for over 5 years now, and all you know how to do is to eat my son's money, wear expensive clothes and hair, and drive big cars," Emeka's mother complained. The tension in the air was palpable as her words echoed in the living room. "Mama, please stop. You can't come to my house and insult my wife. Don't even start, or you will go back to your husband's house tonight. I will personally drop you off. Mama, God will bless us with children in due time," Nena managed to say as she took the. Her voice trembled slightly, but she maintained her composure. Later, Nene spoke to Emeka about the way he spoke with his mom earlier. "Honey, don't you think you were a little too rude to your mom earlier?" she asked as they sat on the couch, the sound of the television playing softly in the background. "Baby, I know my mom more than you. This is exactly what she needs, or she will never stop. Don't worry about her," Emeka replied, squeezing her hand gently. The next day, Nen woke up early, prepared breakfast for everyone, and packed their lunch for work. She carefully counted some money for herself and left the remaining for her mother-in-law, just in case she needed to buy anything. Her husband had left for work earlier, so she wanted to tell her mother-in-law that her son left some money for her. But before Nan could finish, her mother-in-law dragged the bunch of money out of her hands. "Give me that money! It's my son's money, you poor thing! All you do is buy, buy, and buy. Look at your hair. It's worth over 300,000 naira. You go to work late and come back early," she snapped, glaring at Nene. "But Mama, I do so I can prepare food for my husband," Nene explained calmly. "Shut up!" her mother-in-law yelled, pointing a finger at her. "Please, I'm late for work." "You've already taken the money," Nene said, but her mother-in-law followed her to the door. "Stop, you poor barren rat! Don't you dare touch my son's car," her mother-in-law yelled. Just for peace to reign, Nene took a taxi to work, her heart heavy with frustration. When it was time to go home, Nene joined her husband's car. He was surprised because she was supposed to come with a car. "Honey, where's your car?" he asked, concern etched on his face. "I dropped it off at the mechanic," Nen replied, avoiding his gaze. "But I serviced all the cars just 2 days ago. So why didn't you use the other one?" Emeka questioned, his brow furrowed. "Honey, please just let it go," Nene pleaded. But he knew his mom had done something. When they got home, Emeka confronted his mom, but she denied stopping Nen from going to work with her car several times. Emeka wanted to tell his mom that his wife was the one who gave him a job and oversaw the company where he worked. She made him who he is, but Nene begged him not to. Her mother-in-law continued to harass her, calling her a poor barren rat at every little chance she got. One day, Nene's friend, Amaka, visited to spend the weekend with her. She couldn't believe it when she heard Nene's mother-in-law talking to her so rudely. "You mean you've been taking this nonsense?" Amaka asked, her voice tinged with disbelief. "Please, just let it slide. When I have kids, she will love me," Nen said, trying to sound hopeful. "My dear, nobody deserves to be treated this way, even if you don't have kids yet," her friend replied, shaking her head. Her husband was resting upstairs in his room and didn't know what was going on downstairs. "See, I'm not my friend. I don't have patience. I have coconut head. I will beat you black and blue and send you out of my house. You're lucky I'm not the one," Amaka said to Mama. "Amaka, please don't be rude to her. I won't take that from you. She's my mother-in-law," Nene pleaded softly. "An ungrateful mother-in-law," her friend retorted with a frown. "It's okay. Let's go get dressed and go out," Nene said, trying to diffuse the tension. She told her husband that she was going out with her friend for a sit out. They both got dressed and came out looking gorgeous. But as soon as her mother-in-law saw them, she dragged Nene's wig. "This is my son's money. Let me have it," Mama Emeka shouted, pulling at the wig. "Please let go of my hair, Mama," Nene begged, trying to free herself. "All you do is eat my son's money, buy expensive clothes, shoes, and wigs. Today I will take everything you took from my son," Mama Emeka said angrily. "You're not going anywhere. Give me this wig. I'm sure it cost a fortune," she added, tugging at it. Nene's friend intervened immediately. "Now I can't take this anymore. This woman you're maltreating made your son who he is today. When your son was jobless, he came for an interview at the company where she works as a manager. She was his university lover and brought him in. Mama became cold, her hand slowly releasing the wig. In fact, let me tell you the truth. My friend has been hiding for a very long time. Do you know that my friend owns the company where your son works? Amaka continued. Shut up, you liar. How can this poor barren rat be that wealthy? Mama Emeka snapped. While they were still talking, Emeka came in and confirmed everything Nen's friend had said. Mama, she's right. My wife is not a poor barren rat like you call her. She is a very rich woman. She made me who I am today. She owns everything but has remained humble. The only thing I didn't know is that my wife actually owns the company. I thought she was managing it. She had told me, honey, I didn't want you to feel intimidated. Yes, it's not my uncle's company but mine. I have never had any uncle who remembered me since my parents passed. I had to struggle alone until I got to where I am today, by the grace of God. I'm so sorry I didn't tell you who I truly am, Nen said, her voice quivering. Mama Emeka was speechless. Yes, Mama, I am not a poor rat like you call me. I love your son and respect him. That's why I didn't want you or anyone to see him as someone I am feeding. It's teamwork. Whatever I own belongs to him now, and everything he owns belongs to me because we are now one, Nene concluded. Her mother-in-law was speechless and didn't know what to say. She packed her belongings and left, feeling very cold, like someone who had just had an ice bath. A few minutes later, Amaka also left. Nen had to apologize to Emeka for lying to him. Then she shared the good news she had been waiting to surprise him with. Honey, I'm 4 weeks pregnant, she said. Her husband could not hold back his joy. He lifted her in excitement, spinning on the floor. They were so happy. Months later, Nene gave birth to a beautiful baby girl. Mama Emeka came to take care of her since she didn't have parents. Mama Emeka apologized for everything she did to her. One day, Mama Emeka said to Nene, "You are a good woman. You own everything, yet you behave like you own nothing. You are a good woman indeed. I'm so sorry for all the times I looked down on you. Please, my child, forgive me." They became the best mother and daughter-in-law, and you could hardly tell she wasn't a biological daughter if you didn't know. Emeka got a job in an oil company where his 1 month's salary was his 6 months' salary in his wife's company, and they lived happily. The valuable lesson from Nene's story is that humility, resilience, and kindness can transform lives and relationships. Nene faced challenges head-on, building her empire through sheer determination and focus. Despite her wealth and success, she remained humble, allowing her husband to shine and maintaining harmony in her home. Even when faced with mistreatment from her mother-in-law, she responded with patience and kindness, eventually winning her over. Let Nene's story inspire us all to treat others with respect, strive for success through hard work, and nurture relationships with love and understanding. Remember, humility and perseverance can open doors you never imagined. Thank you for watching my channel. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Stay tuned for more inspiring and entertaining stories. See you in the next video. Once upon a time, in a quiet village called Misa, everyone lived happily. The village was surrounded by tall, lush trees that swayed gently in the wind, providing a soothing rustle that the villagers often found comforting. The people there had special rules they followed, One very important rule was that all the girls had to stay pure. In other words, they had to remain virgins until they got married. This rule was very special to the people of Misa, and they made sure all the girls followed it carefully. The parents in Misa were very proud of this tradition. They believed their daughters were pure and cherished this belief deeply. Often, they would boast among themselves, saying things like, "My daughter is pure, just like all the girls in our village." It was a point of pride and honor for them, a sign of their good upbringing and respect for their customs. The village square often buzzed with mothers sharing stories about their daughters' virtues during market days. However, one day, something unexpected happened. A terrible misfortune befell the village, and to lift this curse of misfortunes, it was revealed that only a true virgin could be the solution. There was also a promise that the virgin maiden who helped with the sacrifice would marry the prince, and her parents would receive many gifts and money. The news spread like wildfire, with villagers whispering about it in hushed tones as they gathered by the communal well. Excited by the prospect of their daughters becoming royal in-laws, every parent eagerly brought their daughters to the palace. They were sure that their girls were virgins, eager to win the prize and restore peace to the village. As the crowd gathered in the palace courtyard, Oshi, a revered elder known for his wisdom, stepped forward with a large pot in his hands. He addressed everyone, saying, "In this pot is a special necklace blessed by the gods. Only a true virgin maiden can pull it out. This is the test the gods have given us to find the one who will carry the sacrifice." The girls lined up nervously while their parents watched with confidence. Some mothers whispered prayers under their breath, clutching their daughters' hands tightly before letting them go. One by one, the girls dipped their hands into the pot, but each time they pulled out nothing. The air grew tense as the first girl tried, then the second, and so on. Each girl came up empty-handed, and the murmurs among the crowd grew louder. Then it was the turn of the chief's daughters, known for their grace and beauty. The first daughter stepped forward confidently, her silk dress glinting in the sunlight, but she too could not find the necklace. The second daughter tried and failed as well. Finally, the youngest daughter reached in, her hands trembling, but she also came up empty. The villagers were stunned. Whispers filled the air. How can this be? Not even the chief's daughters. The elders exchanged worried glances, puzzled and concerned. They had always believed that the girls in the village were pure, upholding the traditions they cherished. But now it seemed something had gone terribly wrong. The crowd's unease was palpable, with even the village children sensing the gravity of the situation. News of the failed test spread quickly through the village, causing disbelief and shock. The girls started shouting, "It's not our fault, it's Auntie Ijoma." As rumors flew, attention turned to Ijoma, the stranger from the city. Villagers began to murmur, blaming her for the chaos and misfortune that had befallen their once peaceful home. "She came here and changed everything," an elder woman muttered, shaking her head as she drew water from the well. "Our girls used to follow the traditions. Now look at what has happened," another villager agreed, saying Ijoma brought city ways to our village. She made the girls forget who they are. And so the story begins. Long, long ago, a girl named Ijoma came to visit her aunt in the village of Misa. Ijoma was from the big city, and she was very beautiful. Her colorful clothes shimmered in the sunlight, and she always wore bright and revealing outfits that caught everyone's eye. Ijoma walked through the village with confidence, like she was a queen, and everyone noticed her, especially the men. As Ijoma walked by, the men would whisper, "Wow, wow, look at her. She's so beautiful," even as their wives shot disapproving glances. The village girls watched her too. They admired how she dressed and walked, wishing they could be like her. "I want to wear clothes like Ijoma," one girl said as she brushed her hair by the river. Another girl added, "She looks so confident and pretty." The girls in the village didn't know much about Ijoma, but they were fascinated by her. They liked how she seemed so different and exciting. Ijoma's bright clothes and confident walk were unlike anything they had seen before. They started to wonder what it would be like to have all the attention that Ijoma got. "Ijoma is so cool," said one of the girls, admiring her from afar. "I want to be just like her." And so they watched her closely, hoping to learn more about her and maybe become like her someday. But little did they know, Ijoma had a secret that would change everything in the village. At night, as the oil lamps flickered in the homes, the villagers would discuss her presence, some with envy, others with growing suspicion. Ijoma had a secret that no one in the village knew. The men who admired her beauty were giving her gifts and money, but it wasn't just because she was pretty. Ijoma was meeting with these men in secret, and in exchange for their gifts, she spent time with them in a way the village would not approve of. One day, Adana, the chief's daughter, became curious about why Ijoma always seemed to have new things and money. Adana decided to follow Ijoma quietly to find out what was going on. She saw Ijoma meeting with a man in a hidden spot, their hushed voices carrying through the quiet evening air. Then Ijoma walked away with a small bag of money. Adana was surprised and thought, "So this is Ijoma's secret. The men give her gifts for being with them." She wondered if she could get gifts too. Adana had always been a good girl, following the village's rules, but now she was curious. She wanted to feel special, like Ijoma did. The next day, Adana saw a young merchant who had been looking at her for a while. She decided to try what she had seen Ijoma do. Adana talked to the merchant and agreed to meet him in secret. The merchant gave her gifts and money, just like he did with Ijoma. Adana was excited and felt special. "This is so easy," she thought. "I can get nice things too." She felt like she had discovered something amazing and couldn't wait to tell her friends. Little did she know, this secret was going to cause big changes in the village. Adana couldn't keep her discovery to herself. She told her friends about Ijoma's secret and how easy it was to get gifts and money from men. "All you have to do is spend time with them and they give you nice things," she said, her eyes sparkling with excitement. As Adana explained, her friends were shocked at first, their faces a mix of disbelief and curiosity, but then they became intrigued too. Soon more girls in the village started to follow Ijoma's example. They began wearing makeup, their faces bright with colorful powders and lip stains, and dressing in ways that would catch the men's attention. The girls wanted to feel special and get gifts, just like Ijoma and Adana. They whispered to each other in hushed tones behind the market stalls, "If Ijoma and Adana can do it, why can't we?" Ijoma noticed the change in the village girls and saw an opportunity. She started organizing meetings between the girls and the men, taking a share of the gifts and money the girls received. "I'll set everything up, and all you have to do is be nice to the men," Ijoma told them, her voice carrying a tone of practiced reassurance. The girls trusted her and followed her instructions. They loved the attention and gifts they got from the men. They felt special and enjoyed the new things they could buy with the money. The small trinkets, brightly colored wrappers, and shiny beads became their tokens of pride. They started to forget about the village's important traditions of staying pure and respecting themselves. The excitement of receiving gifts made them forget the values they had grown up with. As more and more girls joined in, it became like a secret club. They kept everything hidden from their parents and the village elders. The girls thought they were just having fun, but they didn't realize the trouble they were getting into. The secret was spreading, and it was changing the village in ways no one expected. As time passed, more and more girls in the village started to join Ijoma's secret meetings with the men. What began as few girls seeking gifts turned into a common practice. The girls would meet with the men not just for the gifts anymore, but for the attention and excitement it brought them. They felt admired and special, and that feeling became more important than the gifts themselves. The village elders and parents had no idea what was happening. They continued with their daily lives, believing that the village's traditions were still being followed. The elders often spoke about the importance of purity and respect, thinking the girls were listening and following their teachings. They didn't know that the strong tradition of keeping the girls pure until marriage was being broken. The girls kept the secret well hidden. They acted normally around their families, attending village gatherings and participating in daily chores. But behind closed doors, they were living a different life, one that went against everything the village stood for. The taboo of meeting with men in secret had become a norm among the village girls. They no longer felt shame or guilt about their actions. Instead, they saw it as a new way of life, one that gave them freedom and attention. They had drifted far from the values they had been taught, and the once strong traditions were quietly crumbling, unnoticed by the elders and parents. One day, something terrible happened in the village of Misa. Plants began to wither, their leaves turning brown and dry under the unrelenting sun. The animals, usually so full of life, started falling sick and dying. Worst of all, the villagers themselves began to suffer. Many people fell ill with strange symptoms that no one had seen before. It was a dark and frightening time for everyone. The villagers were scared and confused. They didn't know what was causing the sudden misfortune. They had always followed their traditions and respected the gods, or so they thought. Desperate for answers, they decided to visit the oracle Obasi, who was known for his wisdom and connection to the spiritual world. The villagers gathered at Obasi's home, a small but revered hut surrounded by sacred carvings and smoke from burning incense, their faces filled with worry. The elders spoke first, explaining the situation and asking Obasi what they could do to stop the curse. Obasi listened carefully, his eyes closed as if he was deep in thought. After a long silence, he finally spoke. "The gods are angry," Obasi said, his voice solemn. "They are displeased with the village, for the traditions have been broken. The purity that was once held dear has been lost. To appease the gods, a big sacrifice must be made. 2 virgin maidens must carry the sacrifice to the sacred altar. The villagers gasped. The idea of a sacrifice was serious, but even more so was the mention of virgin maidens. The village elders, who had always believed that all the young girls were pure,